Some won't. There will be tens of millions of Windows 10 devices that will not get updated in time for Windows 10. I think the last count we did, there were 69 million machines in the enterprise space still on Windows 10.
Wow.
Hopefully declining each month as more and more either get refreshed or get in-place upgrades. But there will be, I'm predicting there will be 10, 20 million machines still running Windows 10 on October 14th.
Welcome to Embracing Digital Transformation, where we investigate effective change leveraging people, process, and technology. This is Darren Pulsford, Chief Solution Architect, author, and most importantly, your host. On this episode, End of Windows 10, What Businesses Must Know Before October 2025, with returning guest Denis O'Shea, founder of Mobile Mentor. Denis, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Darren. Delighted to be back. Thank you for having me again.
Hey, it's been a year and a half or longer, right, since you were on the show?
Might be a bit longer. I think it was COVID last time we spoke.
Oh, yeah. You're right. It's been a while.
Yeah.
A lot has changed. And one thing that's changed that I started doing about a year and a half ago, probably right before or right after you came on the show, is I tell everyone that, hey, I only have superheroes on my show, and every superhero has a origin story, a background story. So, Denis, what's your background story? What's your origin story?
We should have done some prep before we dived.
No way. No, because if we do prep, then it ruins it.
The origin story of my business was I used to work for Nokia, or Nokia as people call it, when smartphones were coming out and people are buying these $1,000 smartphones and essentially fumbling with them. And I was talking to some CEOs. I was working in Switzerland at the time, and they didn't know what to do with these devices. And I could see this problem emerging where the technology had actually got ahead of what people could do. So I decided to leave Nokia and found this company called Mobile Mentor to solve that problem and help people get value from their first smartphone, and spend an hour with each exec who bought their first smartphone and get all the things working, get email working, get their calendar syncing, set up internet for them, transfer their music, transfer contacts from their old phone. And that took off like wildfire. And we ended up literally sitting beside 1 million people to do that service one-on-one for business execs all around the world. That's our origin story.
That's a great origin story. But I want to know a little bit more about you. I'm hearing an accent. I know about your accent, but you come from the land of sheep.
I come from the land of poets and scholars and great whiskey, which is Ireland.
Oh, okay, there you go.
That's where I grew up. I then went and worked in Finland for a few years, working with Nokia. I found my way to New Zealand, the land of sheep, and I married a New Zealand lady, and eventually my entire family moved from Ireland out to New Zealand. And now when there's a gathering on a Sunday afternoon, there's 26 people.
That is so awesome. So a truly international technology, juggernaut. This is awesome. So let's talk about what we want to focus on today. There's a big, what's the right word? It's a big disaster potentially brewing, and it's not trade wars or secure supply chains or anything like that. It's actually the EOL of Windows 10.
Yeah.
And we've gone through these sorts of things before. I remember when the Windows 95, boy, that ages me a lot. When Windows 95 was EOL'd and the whole world was going to fall apart and everything was going to... Is it the same this time or worse? What's it going to be like this time?
It's actually much bigger, because Windows is the workhorse of the knowledge economy, right? About 20% of consumers use Macs, but in business, it's only about 5%, maybe even less. Yeah. The other 95% does their work on Windows devices, and the vast majority are Windows 10. And the date is October 14th, and I don't think Microsoft is going to blink. They're not going to budge off that date.
Well, because they already did once, right? They've already kind of extended it out a little bit, or they made some changes. So,
well, what they've done is that they've added the extended support option, so you can pay them $61, and you can get extended support for Windows 10 for a year, and then it doubles in the second year and it triples in the third year. So you can buy your way into extended support if you need to. Just like with Windows 7, there were organizations who couldn't get off Windows 7 in time for various
Right.
reasons. They could buy their way into support so that they weren't getting hacked from day one with exploits on Windows 7. That option will exist for Windows 10. You can buy your way into extended support, but it's going to get expensive. It's going to double each year. So that's not a great option, because if you have to do that over 3 years, you've almost paid for a new laptop. You could
Yeah,
have bought
yeah,
a Windows 11
exactly.
machine.
So what's the fear that people have? Why not just go to Best Buy, go to Dell, go to HP, buy a new laptop and get the new OS? What's the big deal? Come on.
Get the new OS and the new chipset, and of course that's what we would.
Well, I want them to do that because Intel sells more chips,
Of
right?
course, there you go. Look, that's what people should do, and they should do that with the modern tool set. Setting things up for zero-touch provisioning and automated patching and all the modern technology. That's what people should be doing. However, the reality in the enterprise space is that there's legacy, there's tech debt. People are still using management tools literally from the last century. So a lot of the organizations we work with have Active Directory on-prem, and they've still got SCCM, and they've still got WSUS, which has been deprecated, and they've got CMG, which has been deprecated. And those are the tools they're using to manage their Windows environment. And they might have thousands or tens of thousands of Windows machines still using the management tools from the last century. So when they want to do an upgrade from Windows 10 to 11, it takes between 3 and 6 hours. It's a painful process. And for them to change from that legacy way of doing things to the modern way of doing things with, say, Intune and Autopilot, that's a pretty large piece of work. Some will be ready on time, some won't. There will be tens of millions of Windows 10 devices that will not get updated in time for Windows 10. I think the last count we did, there were 69 million machines in the enterprise space still on Windows 10.
Wow.
Hopefully declining each month as more and more either get refreshed or get in-place upgrades. But there will be, I'm predicting there will be 10, 20 million machines still running Windows 10 on October 14th.
Okay, so explain something, because people may. I know the answer to this, but I'd love your perspective on this. Why is Microsoft doing this? Why in support on something? Why not just keep it alive? I mean, why make everyone change?
Look, in a way, they have to. They're innovating at an extraordinary pace. And I get to see that because I've been on the advisory board to one of their product lines for a couple of years, the Intune product line. And so I get to see the pace they're moving at. And it is truly extraordinary. And to move forward at pace, as you guys know at Intel, you have to be prepared to retire some of the legacy that holds back progress and innovation. It's just necessary. And Windows
So
10,
it's like an anchor. When I hold all that old technology with me, it slows
correct.
me down.
It slows you down, because if you need to still divert a whole bunch of really good engineers to maintain something that's 10 years old or 20 years old, those engineers then are not available to work on next year's products.
Gotcha.
So in the same
Yeah, that's a very good perspective. But isn't Microsoft and other companies? It's not just Microsoft. Other companies do this too. Aren't they just pushing? They're pushing that technical debt down into the companies in some perspective, right?
in some regard, yes, they're forcing customers to move.
To move. Yeah.
Yeah. Now they're giving you the option. You can hang around on Windows 10, but it's going to cost, because that's a platform that will be increasingly expensive to maintain and secure over time. The fewer people that are using it, the more expensive it's going to become to maintain it and keep it secure from all the vulnerabilities that keep emerging all the time. So
Right.
it's really in everybody's interest to get off Windows 10, get to Windows 11, which is a much more secure platform and has all the AI capabilities baked in. And that will set us up hopefully for the next 10 years. We got a good 10 years out of Windows 10. That's way better than we ever got out of Windows 8 or Windows 7 or any
Windows
of the
7.
versions.
Right. Yeah.
You got
But
10 years out.
are there going to be cases where people? I already know there are. I've run into, especially in manufacturing, a Windows 95 box still operating,
Yeah.
still working, no one wants to touch it. They firewalled the puppy off because of security issues, but there's still going to be some of those around. But what are the dangers of staying on a Windows 10 box that I run into? Besides, I can't run it on modern hardware either, right? Windows 10 won't run on the newest hardware. Well, no, it will. Windows 11 won't run on the old hardware.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah, that's
you're
right.
But some applications over time may become incompatible with Windows 10. New applications that are being developed this year or next year are probably being developed for Windows 11 plus plus rather than backwards compatibility to Windows 10 or 7. And really, I think the biggest thing is security. So if you can completely air gap a Windows 10 machine in a factory or in a healthcare setting, if it's in theater doing a single purpose job, that might be okay for a period of time if it's truly air gapped and can't receive new vulnerabilities or be accessed by the hacking community. But if Windows 10 machines hang around and don't get the latest updates, they will become increasingly vulnerable over time.
Gotcha. Okay, so that makes sense. So what am I gonna do if this happens every 10 years? It may even happen every 5 years moving forward. I don't know. What sorts of things can I do as a small business owner, a mid-sized business owner? Because big enterprises, they should know how to do this. There's no excuse for that. Yeah. But small and mid-sized companies, maybe I don't have the resources. So what are some things I can do to kind of stay always on top of this without wasting a lot of time and fear that's built up around, oh no, my business is going to stop for how many days while I do this upgrade? So what tips do you have or tricks that I can do to help with this?
I would say embrace the modern tool set to be able to manage all your endpoints. So most businesses will have lots of Windows and maybe some Macs, and they've probably got a whole bunch of iPhones that might be company owned or BYO, owned by the employees, and they might have some iPads and some Android devices. The modern tool set to manage those enables companies to keep all the devices up to date and keep them fresh, keep them secure, automate all the patching and eliminate vulnerabilities in real time and keep everything fresh and evergreen. That's probably the best thing people can do. Have the management layer, the control layer as modern as possible, and ideally have everything in one system. So you've got one system for your Windows, Macs, iPads, Androids, everything in one system. Because like 5 years ago, people had one system for Macs. Maybe it was Jam.
Right, yeah.
For the mobile devices. They might have had SOTI for the stuff in the warehouse. They had SCCM for the Windows devices. Now you can put them all in Intune, manage everything holistically.
Now, is that really difficult to set up? Because I'm thinking of a business with maybe 50 employees or maybe even 200 employees, right? Yeah. I can't have a staff of 50 managing my IT.
No, it's not at all.
There's no scale there, right?
And that's right.
My profitability goes in the tank. So are there some easy ways to help guide me through that?
There are. And probably the best thing to do there is get a managed service provider who specializes in managing all the devices. Somebody who specializes in this. And Mobile Mentor is one of the companies who's highly specialized in this space.
So that makes sense to me, right? I mean, if it's not a core foundation to your business, why would you invest tons of money into it? Instead, use a managed service to help with that.
Yeah. You don't try and file your own tax returns. You get an expert to help you with that.
Oh, no, I do my own tax returns, and it's a nightmare every year. That's why my hair is white, and I get audited all the time. So hopefully the IRS is not listening today.
But if you are a business that uses experts to do things, I would say.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that makes sense.
Get an MSP, managed service provider, to help you maximize the value you're getting out of your Microsoft licenses. Because everybody is on Microsoft licensing to some extent. Even companies that are heavy on Apple, if they've got lots of MacBooks and all of that, they still got some Microsoft. And my advice would be, get a partner, get a managed service provider who can help you squeeze all the value out of your Microsoft licensing, because there's a ton of value in there, and set up a modern cloud first, cloud native way of managing everything with all your devices, all your applications, all your security in one place. And then you can stay current and evergreen and modern.
Gotcha.
And
So there's no reason to host host these managed solutions on my own infrastructure.
no, not at all. Not at all.
No, that's actually a perfect application to run up in the cloud.
Totally.
In this
Totally.
case.
And like our business is a good example. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. We've got people all across the States. We've got people in New Zealand, Australia, Ireland, Philippines, India. Our IT is distributed and has never seen our devices. Never seen them and never will see
That's
them.
amazing.
They're
That
drop
is amazing.
shipped. Yeah, they're drop shipped to an employee's home address. They're all managed remotely through the cloud. We own no servers, no data centers, no printers. We're a completely cloud organization, and no passwords is the other thing. Completely passwordless.
So you guys are using pass keys and biometrics for login?
Primarily biometrics. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very cool. Because that simplifies a whole lot.
It does. And it's a lightweight way of managing IT. It's way cheaper. It's way more secure. Most organizations get hacked through compromised credentials. And that.
Yeah, they do.
I think it's 940 something people every second get compromised through compromised credentials. 940 every second. So a few thousand people just got taken down while we're having this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Which is tragic. And the number one thing we can advise everybody we know is get away from passwords. Embrace single sign-on. Embrace biometrics. Get away from passwords.
It's the way to go.
Yeah.
Okay. So if my company is stuck on Windows 10,
yeah,
right, I'm behind the game. I understand I've messed up, right? No centralized control. Everything goes to Billy Joe Bob's basement, right, where he's fixing laptops and shipping them back out through FedEx. I have been in when I took over as a CIO. There was no cloud at the time, but our whole data center was running in some guy's basement. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. What are we doing here? So I that's a small start. That's how you get things started.
Yeah.
I'm beyond that, but what's my first step now? I mean, I've got all these old boxes sitting there. I'm going to have to buy new laptops to move forward.
Yeah.
I already know that.
Yeah.
So do I just take that and chuck it out the window and just start new? Just make sure I've got everyone's data backed up into the cloud. Maybe they're using OneDrive or something like that. What are my steps? What steps do I take to actually go from a mess to this new, modern, simple to use infrastructure?
I could ask you to define the mess, but let's not.
Let's assume that's the first thing. Define the mess.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. How bad is the mess and how messy is it? But no, I think it's probably more constructive if we talk about what does good look like in a modern environment. And
I like that. I like that a lot.
Good. And most people have Microsoft 365 licenses, like I mentioned before. That includes a bunch of things. So I would say the first thing to do is set up Entra as the primary identity provider for the organization. Not Active Directory on premise, because that's how we did it in the past. That's legacy. Entra, so it's all cloud first. That's the first thing. So we think about the Microsoft environment as a pyramid, and the top of the pyramid is your identity. So in your case, Darren dot blah blah blah.
Right.
My case, Dennis dot, and when our identity is in the cloud and secure, and we're using single sign-on and phish-resistant MFA, and we've got conditional access policies, then we're secure. And that's the beginning of the modern journey. And then the second thing is setting up Intune, Microsoft Intune, as the single system to manage all our devices. And if in the case you described, that mess included lots of legacy Windows devices, some in the basement, some in cupboards, some in people's homes and cars and all that,
Yeah.
I would say set up autopilot. which is the tool you use to order new machines so they can get delivered, and you have an out of box experience where the machine self configures. So nobody from IT is involved. The Windows machine is delivered to the employee's home. They take it out of the box. They type in their credentials because they've got the secure cloud credentials. And the machine goes, we recognize this user and this machine. You belong to our company. We know what policies to push down. We know what profiles, what compliance rules. We also know what department you belong to. So here's all your department folders and files. And these are the applications you need. And we're going to put them in the right places on the home screen. And maybe there's some other things. And about 20 minutes later, boom, you have a fully working machine and nobody from IT was involved.
See,
that's what good looks
like. That is cool.
Yeah.
How do I get that set up? I use someone like you guys to help me set that stuff up. And
yeah,
right.
We set that up for I think 2.6 million people now over the last few years.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and that's just the beginning. That's like the very first.
Let's get you started.
Somebody gets that new Windows machine, and then we set up the biometrics, so it scans their face, so you're never typing a password. You open the laptop, scans your face. 4.6 seconds later, you're logged in and you're able to work. No delays. And then you're working, and then all your updates and patches and firmware and drivers and all that
all is done automatically
over the air. And it's just like your iPhone. You know how you get a notification?
Yeah.
It's like that. So all your updates are coming in silently, and there's something new now called Hot Patch, which is super cool. So it means that the Windows updates can be deployed without having to do a restart.
I know. Intel was actually foundational in bringing that to market for Microsoft. So
so cool.
It's so cool, isn't it? Right?
Everybody hates restarting their machine in the middle of the day, and all the pain that creates.
No more Wednesday reboots. That's what we call them. That's what we've called them in companies before. Oh, never have a meeting on a Wednesday afternoon because why? Your machine's going to do its reboot cycle.
Well, thanks to you guys at Intel and Microsoft, Hot Patch is a beautiful thing. But again, you need Windows 11 for Hot Patch. That new capability is designed for the future paradigm.
For the future stuff.
Not the legacy. But it's another great reason to get on 11.
Right, yeah. So once I get this all set up, how do I just keep it going? Is it fully automated? I don't have to ever touch it again? Or is it good to have someone monitoring it? And do I need someone internal to monitor it? Or should I just fully trust a managed service to just take care of that for me?
Look, automation is great when it's automated and when it's working, but when it breaks,
when it breaks, everything falls apart. Right?
Who knows what they're doing, right? And like that product I mentioned, Intune, it's 10,000 unique settings in Intune. It's a monster, and to set it up correctly and get it optimized and get all the integrations with OneDrive and your identity and your applications and security, that requires seasoned experts who've been doing it a long time. And then getting all the automations working to build a new machine and automate all the patching and all that. You need experts around to help with that. And
okay.
So
it's an ongoing. So there's an initial cost for me up front to set it all up, and then there's an ongoing. Just like I would pay insurance, I pay monthly on my insurance.
Yeah.
Right. It's the same concept. Having guys like you there to manage and walk through it. If there's a disaster, you're on top of it right away. I don't have to worry about it, right? Or if something goes down, a phone call, and I don't have to hire staff to do that.
It's a lot more active than an insurance policy because we're involved all the time doing
all the time,
updates and changes and resolving issues, and because there's always people joining and people leaving, and there's always new applications coming and going, and people upgrading their hardware and changing. There's always change, so there's just the change never stops in the endpoint space.
So this all feeds into the big hot topic of the day, not tariffs, but generative AI.
Yeah,
that is moving so quickly and so rapidly. In fact, it's been consuming all the oxygen in the air.
Yeah,
because I haven't heard a peep out of cybersecurity in a while, including even on my own show. And I think that's going to come back and bite us really soon here. Are you feeling the same way about, hey, generative AI, it is foundational, it is a change, but maybe it's taking too much of the limelight. Maybe it needs to move over a little bit so someone else can, share a little bit.
It is amazing how much oxygen it is absorbing from the room. That is absolutely, and
crazy.
smothering everything else, including security and a whole bunch of other topics. But it is colossal. It is truly colossal and profound, and the impact will be felt for decades. We're going through a massive change, and as a society, we're trying to figure this out. We're all trying to figure it out, figure out the use cases, figure out how do we prevent data oversharing in our organizations. If I do a search and the company says, show me Darren's payslip, you want to make sure it doesn't pop, that doesn't get found, or show me whatever. So there's a lot of work to be done there, a lot of work to be done to essentially train people on how to use the tools effectively. A lot of work to be done building out the AI agents and getting access to all our line of business applications so that we're not just using it in the browser, but able to reach into our business applications to reason over the data.
Over all the data.
Company.
Do you think the automation tools that you've been using to manage IT can be taken advantage of for this AI stuff? Yeah, are we going to get to the point where, hey, now I'm no longer deploying applications onto my laptops. Instead, I'm deploying AI models or personal Gen AI agents for me, for Darren, and Darren's got it. And then, hey, it will automatically go and download things as I need them, as it looks ahead. Do you think we're headed in that direction where things are going to be even more dynamic?
We are. And you asked me about the tools. Some of the tools will have overlap, like Microsoft Purview would be very useful for classifying data and labeling data, so that when you search for something, if you've got PII or PHI in your organization, we don't want that popping up in an AI search, obviously.
No, we don't.
We don't want personnel records or things like that. So making sure data is appropriately classified, tagged, labeled. We'll use some tools for that. We'll use other tools to make sure that our company information isn't being pasted into public large language models. So we don't want an employee taking an internal document, putting it into ChatGPT or DeepSeek and saying, reformat this or summarize it for me or clean up.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
It happens a lot. And we need the ability to stop that from happening, because it's a very tempting thing for a young employee to do that.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm hoping that we, because I have 3 AI PCs in my office, because it's crazy. They, when people know that I'm doing a lot of work on it, like the like HPI and Dell and Lenovo, they're like, oh, Darren, and your show, send them to us, and we'll send you the latest and greatest, and you can try them out. I've been running large language models on these, and I can get so much done because that data is not leaving my laptop. So I can do summarization. I can do lots of things on highly confidential data.
On the PC.
On a laptop. Yeah, I'm like, this is incredible, right? Mm-hmm. So I really see, I know we talk about centralized and all that, but I also see the power of the laptop out at the edge is going to be able to do so much with my data.
Yeah.
Without having to go to a big public Gen AI. I think this is going to be a really interesting thing that happens.
It is.
I can't quite put my finger on it yet, but you can feel it's going to change.
It is. And look, it's happening on the small devices in our pockets as well.
Yeah, you're right.
Apple Intelligence has just gone from default off to default on. And that's really interesting. So now Apple Intelligence is summarizing our text messages and doing a whole bunch of things. So again, the AI is moving to the endpoint.
Yeah.
And will provide more and more intelligence to me as a consumer or as a business user or both together. And so the AI is going to be on our devices, in our applications, in our lives everywhere.
So what that tells me is companies like yourselves, like Mentor Mobile, you're going to become even more important because edge devices are going to become more powerful and more.
They will become more powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, and this whole concept of everything's going to be centralized in one big thing is not the direction it's going to go. It's going to disperse itself, and we're going to see potentially a lot more variability even out at the edge devices.
We'll see constant change. That's what we expect. Constant change in the endpoint ecosystem at the level of those Windows machines. Macs are going to become huge in the enterprise. They're going to become huge. In the same way,
we'll see. We'll see. They're going to have to play a little more. Apple's going to have to play a little more open instead of such a closed ecosystem to do it.
They will, and I'm seeing them starting to do that with some parts of the industry. I'm predicting the next 5 or 10 years we'll see a lot more Macs in enterprise.
That'll be interesting to see. 5 or 10.
And then, of course, the innovation and the smartphone market is just unbelievable. So whether it's the AI or the security and the productivity, those are the three big things really. And the intersection between those, AI is going to make security a much bigger concern because hacks are going to be so much more intelligent.
Oh, yeah.
Socially engineered. But AI will also help us mitigate security attacks by providing much better defenses. And then our productivity, of course, will depend upon how effective we can be and not be stopped by security, and how we can be enabled by AI. So there's some really interesting, what's the word I'm looking for? Forces. It's these forces that are coming together.
Oh yeah. It's fascinating. So, Dennis, if people want to find out more, or if they need help, where do they go to get in contact with you or your company?
Sure. So Mobile Mentor is the company, and we're mobile-mentor.com. So that's the company. I'm Denis with one N. My parents were a bit lazy. So it's DENIS at mobile-mentor.com. And I'm the founder. And I do a lot of work with our clients who are trying to figure out strategy. Matter of fact, most of the work I do these days is helping clients, doing an assessment, building a roadmap, building a plan, helping them navigate from wherever they are. You described it as a mess, and
to where they want to get.
You're not wrong. To where they want to be, to a better future place, better security, embracing AI, better productivity, and a modern, lightweight IT environment. That's what Mobile Mentor does. Helps clients get there, and the word mentor is in our name for a good reason.
Yeah, because I get it. We've talked about this before. Dennis, thanks for coming on the show. This has been wonderful.
Thank you. I love talking with you, and let's not make it 3 years before we.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening to Embracing Digital Transformation today. If you enjoyed our podcast, give it 5 stars on your favorite podcasting site or YouTube channel. You can find out more information about Embracing Digital Transformation at embracingdigital.org. Until next time, go out and embrace the digital revolution.